Amelia had always loved Christmas in her village. The lights, the warm pubs, the snow-covered cottages. Everything felt like a postcard. But this year, the silence felt wrong. The snow was falling in slow, heavy sheets, covering the road so thickly that even her footprints vanished within seconds. It felt as if the world didn't want her returning home. But she kept walking, suitcase dragging behind her. The village legend had been around forever, the abandoned church at the end of the long lane. The one with the bell tower. The one whose choir vanished in the 1890s during Christmas Eve rehearsal. People claimed they still heard the bell ringing during heavy snow, but Amelia always dismissed it as superstition, until she heard it herself. A soft ting, carried through the thick snowfall, faint but clear enough to stop her dead in her tracks. The bell tower was nowhere near, so why did it sound close? She turned. No one behind her. The road looked like a white tunnel. Then came the second ring. Louder, closer, almost as if someone had pulled the rope beside her ear. Her skin prickled. She wasn't alone. She took one step forward before noticing something in the snow. Footprints. Not hers. Much smaller. Bare feet. Children's feet. And they hadn't walked from anywhere. They started just 4 feet behind her, as if the children had been dropped there from above. She stared at those prints, her breath fogging. The third bell rang. This time, the sound came from the direction of the abandoned church. Deep, vibrating, ancient. The kind of sound that felt too heavy for the air. Lights flickered along the lane as she walked. One lamp died with a pop. Another buzzed, glowing a sickly yellow. The church came into view slowly, a large black silhouette against the swirling white storm. That building had been locked for over a century. But the chains that once held the doors shut were broken, lying in the snow like something had snapped them with incredible force. Amelia whispered, "No, that's not real." A warm glow flickered inside the bell tower window. Someone was in there, or something was. She stepped back instinctively, and that was when she heard it. Soft humming, little voices, singing. Not modern voices, not accents she recognized. Old, Victorian, fragile, as if echoing through time. The church doors creaked open wider, though no one touched them. A child stepped out, thin, pale, wearing a choir robe soaked in snow. Its head tilted at a sick angle, the bones of its neck visibly strained under the skin. Behind it, 6 more children emerged one by one, all wearing the same tattered robes, their faces waxy and expressionless, their mouths slightly open as if mid-song. Their eyes were the worst, not empty but full of something old, something cold. The bell rang again, and all their heads snapped toward Amelia at the same time. She ran. The snow was deep, slowing her legs, dragging at her ankles. But behind her, she heard them, children running, their feet slapping the snow unnaturally fast, their soft humming growing louder, layered, discordant. She didn't dare look back. Once she did, just one glance, and saw dozens more children stepping out of the church now. Dozens, maybe 40, all in robes, all pale, all sprinting toward her with unnatural speed, their mouths opening wider and wider as the humming grew shrill. She nearly fell twice before reaching her house. She fumbled the keys, shaking uncontrollably. A small cold hand brushed her wrist, the touch so icy she felt it burn. She shoved herself inside, slammed the door, turned every lock. Silence for 2 seconds, then scratching. Tiny fingernails across the door. Scratching becoming knocking. Knocking becoming pounding. Voices whispering. Children giggling. Then singing. Dozens of them, surrounding her house, circling it. Their shadows passed across every window. Thin silhouettes pressed against the glass, leaving cold trails that froze instantly. At 3 a.m., the singing stopped abruptly. No footsteps in the snow. No breathing. Nothing. Amelia stayed awake until dawn before opening the door, her entire body trembling. The children were gone, but the snow outside her door had been disturbed. Carefully, intentionally. Lined up neatly were tiny Victorian choir shoes, pairs and pairs and pairs of them, all facing her house. And in the middle of the porch was something new, something that hadn't been there before. A single wet footprint, child-sized, fresh, facing into the house, as if one of them never left, as if one of them was still inside. Dan lived in a modern apartment building in Manchester. Christmas Eve was always quiet. Most residents left to visit family. Only a handful stayed behind. Dan liked the silence until the knocking started. At exactly 2:14 a.m., 3 slow knocks on his door. He checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. He opened the door a crack, expecting a prank. Nothing. But on the floor lay a folded Christmas card, old and yellow with age. He picked it up. Inside, written in shaky ink, "Thank you for letting me in." A chill spread through his body. He slammed the door, locked it, and backed away. The flat felt suddenly wrong, heavy, as if someone else was inside. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. Nothing moved, but a trail of wet footprints appeared across his wooden floor, small, bare, child-sized feet, leading into his living room. He grabbed his phone, battery dead, even though he had fully charged it. The TV flicked on by itself, static filling the room, and through the static he heard a faint whispering voice. "I've been alone a very long time." Dan froze. A small shadow stood in the corner of the room, child-shaped, head tilted, completely still. He whispered, "Who are you?" The shadow whispered back, but its voice wasn't a child's. It was deep, hollow, someone they forgot. The figure walked forward, not stepped, glided, and when it passed through the flickering TV light, Dan saw its face. It didn't have one, just pale, smooth skin. He ran for the door, but it slammed shut before he reached it. Every cupboard in the kitchen began banging open and closed violently. Light bulbs popped. The thermostat dropped to 0. The voice whispered again, right next to his ear, though nothing stood there. "This year, you won't forget me." Dan was found 2 days later by building staff, sitting in a corner of his flat, shaking, whispering the same thing over and over. "Don't open the door at 2:14. Snow was falling thick and heavy over the quiet village of Eastwood Hollow when Emma Lockwood pulled into her driveway on Christmas Eve. The entire neighborhood shimmered with fairy lights and wreaths, but the streets were strangely quiet, as if everyone had vanished early into their homes. No children outside, no last-minute shoppers, not even the usual Christmas laughter drifting from windows. Emma stepped out of her car and the cold hit her like a slap. The air felt unnaturally still, the kind of stillness that makes you turn around just to check if someone is standing behind you. She grabbed her bags and hurried toward the front door. As she reached for the handle, she heard it. A faint melody. Soft, slow, too perfect. "God rest ye merry, gentlemen." She froze mid-step. The song floated through the dead silent street without any direction, as if the wind itself was singing. Emma scanned the cul-de-sac. No one, just snow, silence, darkness. She pushed inside, locked the door, and tried to shake it off. Maybe some house down the street had a speaker on. Maybe she was tired. She settled inside the warm living room, turned on the small Christmas tree lights, and wrapped herself in a blanket with a hot chocolate. But then, 10:43 p.m., her doorbell rang. 3 slow, heavy presses. Ding, ding, ding. Not rushed, not friendly, purposeful. She walked to the door, uneasy, and peeked through the peephole. A group of 4 carolers stood on her doorstep. They wore long Victorian cloaks, dark green and black, with tall hats and lanterns hanging from their hands. Their faces were mostly shadowed, the lantern glow landing only on their chins. They looked like cutouts from an antique postcard. Before she could react, they lifted their heads slightly and began to sing. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy! Their voices were pitch perfect. Too perfect. Smooth, steady, all harmonizing as if they shared one breath. Emma forced a polite smile even though they couldn't see her. She waited for the song to end, but it didn't. They just kept repeating the same verse over and over, like a loop. One of the carolers stepped forward. The snow didn't crunch under his feet. No sound at all. Emma's stomach twisted. The singing got louder, though none of their mouths moved. She stepped back from the door. The voices followed her inside, vibrating softly through the walls. The doorbell chimed again, then a third, slower time. Her phone had no signal. The landline was dead. She stood completely still, breath shallow. Minutes passed. The singing stopped suddenly. Then, a single knock hit the door. Not with knuckles, with something heavy. Thud. Emma ran to the window and peeked through the curtains. Her heart nearly stopped. The 4 carolers were still there. Not moving, not blinking, just staring at her door. Their lanterns glowed unnaturally still, the flames not flickering at all. She stepped back, but froze when a 5th figure appeared beside them. He hadn't walked up. He was just there, like the snow had spat him out. Then a 6th, a 7th. 8 carolers in total now, all staring, all silent. The lanterns brightened, burning white instead of orange. Then they went out, and the entire street went black. Emma gasped as every light in her house flickered off. The Christmas tree died. The heating clicked off. Even the fridge stopped humming. The dark pressed against her from all sides. Then she heard it, breathing, right outside the door. Slow, shallow, many people breathing at once. Emma covered her mouth, backing down the hallway. Something scraped across her door, slow metal dragging against wood. Then a whisper slipped in through the keyhole. "Let us in." Emma stumbled backward. Another whisper joined it. "We've come to sing." A third, childlike voice whispered, "We only leave when welcomed." The doorknob twisted. Emma ran. She sprinted to the kitchen, grabbing her keys, trying the back door. Frozen shut. Thick frost sealed the frame, frost that hadn't been there an hour ago. Footsteps crunched in the snow outside. Many footsteps, slow, surrounding the house. She peeked out the kitchen window. At least 15 carolers now stood in her back garden, all facing the house, all holding lanterns. Their faces were shadowed in ways faces shouldn't be able to be shadowed, even in dim light. More figures appeared at the sides of her house, more in the driveway, more forming a perfect circle around the property. Emma's breath hitched. She dropped to the floor, crawling away from the window, shaking. The singing started again. This time it didn't sound like carolers. It sounded like a swarm, voices layered over voices, dozens, hundreds, echoing through her head, vibrating in her teeth, worming into her ears. Oh, tidings of comfort! She crawled up the stairs, desperate to get away, and slipped into her bedroom, shutting the door softly. She hid against the side of her bed, heart pounding so hard she felt sick. The voices outside suddenly stopped. Silence. No footsteps. No breathing. No music. Emma waited, listening, terrified to move. Then her window glowed orange. She turned slowly. 20 lanterns floated outside the glass. Not held. Floating. Behind them, carolers, lining her entire garden. Staring up at her window, the lanterns brightened, glowing white-hot. A crack appeared across the window pane. Emma crouched lower. Another crack, then another. The glass shattered, but not inward. It shattered outward, exploding into the snow as if something inside her room had blown it apart. Wind roared in, Snow swirled into her room like a storm. Her curtains whipped violently, slamming against the wall. Emma covered her face, screaming, then everything went quiet. Snow settled, curtains dropped, a black empty void, shifting like smoke. No eyes. No nose. No skin. Just a hole. He lifted his head. The others stepped behind him. Dozens. Maybe more. All with hollow faces. All holding lanterns burning white. Emma tried to scream, but her breath wouldn't come. The carolers began to hum. Low. Vibration-like. Inhuman. The lantern flames swelled, lighting the room in blinding white light. Emma covered her face, and the last thing she heard before everything vanished was their perfect, dead harmony whispering. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy!